I would like to invite my former colleague Aurélie Escobar from GS1 France, Julien Duval from Soprema, but as also a member of the AIMCC, which is the Association of Manufacturers, Construction Manufacturers, and Roland Mellet of 360 Smart Connect to present on an interesting proof of concept that they're working on. Give them a round of applause. And you may talk about properties if you want.
Thank you. So yes, we are the French team saying properties. But more than that, we are very delighted to be here today to discuss a topic that I think will interest everybody here and concern every stakeholders in the construction industry. My name is Aurélie Escobar and I'm from GS1 France, and I'm here with two other speakers. So Roland Mellet from 360 Smart Connect, a solution provider, and is also a GS1 France partner and a member of this buildingSMART France. And Julien Duval from Soprema, manufacturer, is a board member of buildingSMART France and a representative of the manufacturing association, the AIMCC. But before we go further, I'd like to give you a bit of background. The first one concerns our quest. I'm sure you've been all looking for the same thing, having an effortless as-been model. Why? Because it's really important to have all the information and the knowledge about the build structure, for sure. But that's also important to have all the information and being sure that the product that has been installed is compliant with the initial requirement. And if not, in this case, being able to report any deviation. And so making the link between the position and the product that is installed is very important. And to have that in the most automatic way and the most cost-effective way as well. The second point concerns the legal context. From making the link with what I've been saying, the European Commission is working. Nope. Yeah? Good. On two new regulations, ESPR and the construction product regulation, where the digital product passport will be required. So by 2026, the DPP will become a catalyst for interoperability and a must for placing product on the market. So making the link as well, having all this information on the product in the building is really important to ensure then the circularity of the components. So having a correct and accurate as-been model is really mandatory. So how can we reach this effortless as-been model from a data perspective? Julien?
To fill the gap and achieve this strategy with the minimal effort, economical, and time, we're thinking to call it digital continuity between all stakeholders of the project and all steps of the project. And for it, we're thinking a simple method with some standards, and we want to an extra bonus to going to report instantly deviation and variant for the product. And for it, I know, because I'm a manufacturer, it's a little more time I thinking in start. For it, we thinking we're not so far away because, like all know, we have a lot of standards. We have a big toolbox of BIM with the standards, is the software for it, and that grows all day. So we're thinking for it with digital continuity and maybe the new E in the BIM with a strategy for the identify product and identify object or other. We want to thinking something simple with three things, principal things. Identify, facilitate. Non, c'est bon. Pourquoi ça bouge? Identify, facilitate, and finally to track every day or every time in project the element of this project. And for it, we are thinking about
solution.
I got the
It's
control.
automatically.
You have to be switched on. Thank you, Julien. So for these 3 elements that I have to present you, our solution is based in 3 simple things. First, we need to have a standardized and open standard, widely shared, that everybody can use from a project to the next one, not moving from edification standards. And this is what JSON standard have. It's compliant with the ISO standards, the 15459. Thank you. Sorry. It's already widely shared and widely used in different economic ecosystem, even in the construction field. And it's set clear rules to make the unicity of an edification. So with that, you can easily identify things such as objects, models, but also position in the project. So the second thing is clarify a hierarchy in between objects, from the most generic thing, like a model, for example, to the most specific one, like serialized number for an object, or lot numbers, or even for a position in a project, we call a location. So once you get this system, I mean the standard and the hierarchy, you can have a game of combining the 2 elements, like position with the requirements and the objects with properties. And this makes it really easy to compare if the properties, the properties of the project is compliant with the initial requirements. This is able to give you a memory along the project. So how it works? Quite easy, in fact. In this diagram, you got 2 things. Okay, all along the building process, with first the selection, then the in place, the positioning, and then the hangover and the life, you have 2 workflow. The top in orange is a identification workflow of the position with requirements. And at the bottom in blue, you have the product requirements, identification with properties. And all along the process, you will make pairs of and combining a requirement with products, going more and more accurate through the process, from a model for a system, for example, to standardized, serialized identification products. So for that, when you have this and when you achieve this, you need to be really attentive to be cost effective for that. That's why in France, for a long time now, we use what we call interactive marking, actually standardized by JS1 as digital link. That is the fact that you can create a link in between users, properties, and objects on site. You can even use it, this interaction, even in a URL that you can store in your model, or you can transcript it in a QR code to make it machine readable. And that is quite interesting because it will ease the fact that your guys on site will be able to update your model just by scanning a QR code. And that is what we actually doing in France in our proof of concept.
Like you can see, in France, we want to testing it with a proof of concept with some actors and some stakeholders of one project, like a securability organization in France. because this objective, it's to link all of it with CPR and DPP project, for example, and to prove the capacity of one manufacturer like Soprema to give all information and respect all requirements defined in the needs in start of the program of the building. And we have not make all benefit we want to find. So you suppose if we have this good identification, I will can link my items or articles. I don't know what is a good name. The article with the product, because the product is defined by the layer in your wall or the roof, and the roof and the requirement start in the project. And like it, I will can prove the capacity of one manufacturer to maintain and to maybe follow the carbon impact with the destruction, the die of the product, if I prefer to say. And for Anne, we hope to create something in the best world.
So you probably got it. Adopting a standardized identification system and having this pairing between the ID of the position and the ID of the product is an essential step forward to a more sustainable, a more transparent, and a more efficient construction industry. Everyone will benefit from this method, from the manufacturers, the construction companies, the operators, to the people that are involved in circularity. This standardized method and this pairing would really help us our day-to-day work and make it more easy. So we encourage you to support this method and make yourself heard. Go and see your local GS1 association. Go and see your local buildingSMART association as well. So together, let's transform the construction industry and make it more transparent in the future, more digital as well. We thank you a lot for your attendance and your participation today, listening to us. And if you have some questions, then feel free during the lunch times. We can continue this discussion further. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Merci à vous.
For the team.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's funny to see BIM, BIM, BIM in here. I remember a time when we had BIM, BAM, BOOM. That was some time ago. But again, we have to focus on BIM, especially on the I for the information. Add one thing. Can we put the...
Put it back. Thank you. Yes, one important thing is the BIM, building information modeling, building information management is really important. But the BIM identification management is then very important if we want to reach this effortless as-built model. So that's why what we put the BIM, 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 but with not the same signification of the different initials. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a bit more complicated than looking at it and saying, is that a 6 or a 9, right? Great. So next speaker is Bernd Olausson from Swedish Wood. He is digitization manager at Swedish Wood with an extensive track record in the lumber or timber industry. Do we have him? Yes, he is there. Hi, Bernd.
Yes. Hi there. Can you hear me?
We'll leave the floor to you to present. Thank you very much for presenting, and off you go. Thank you.
Okay. Do you run the presentation, or can I do it from here with the presentation button?
There we go. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. I can't see the slide now, but I'll guess you have the first slide up and running. So, yes, this is a presentation about the challenge for Swedish Wood industry members to support the customers within the construction industry with product data that meet the challenge here. I hope you can see described in the slide now. It is a kind of a challenge when it comes to find the right common language and the data formats and so on, but we'll take it step by step in how we look upon it and what kind of solution we have going forward here. To begin with, Swedish Wood is an industry organization with members that produce timber and wood products, of course. Example of members are saw and planing mills, glue lam manufacturers, CLT manufacturers, and so on. Many of them trade their products both in the Swedish national market and in different international markets. So from our perspective, we really need to find a solution that works for many markets, not just for Sweden. Next slide, please. And then we need to find and apply a common language, of course, for the exchange of product data, both technical and environmental data. And we need to be able to globally identify our products so they can be verified and traced, of course. For the combined purpose, we're using as much harmonized and international standards we can find right now. And if needed, we also combine them with national standards and industry specification. In the slide, you can see some of the standards we are using. And of course, on the building side, it's the openBIM platform, and on the product side, we're using a lot of the EU harmonized product standards, for instance, to create data templates. And we also use a lot of the GS1 standards. One example is that the construction industry in Sweden have agreed upon the uses of the GS1 GTIN standard for the item identification. Next slide, please. This is an example of the product family construction timber that is used in the wall system as an example, as a construction object. The data template for construction timber was created by using the harmonized product standard EN 14081 for technical properties. And then we combine that with the horizontal standard E1 1504 for environmental properties. When the harmonized international properties was in place, and we also added some template properties from national industry standards and specification before the creation of data sheets. Next slide, please. The next step was the usage of generic Swedish wood products as a form of benchmark products for members and markets. We also, for the generic products.
Bernd?
Yeah.
You should be able to go.
I can hear now.
You can hear, great.
Yeah.
So we heard the first slide, but if you could start from the second slide, because we didn't have your presentation available online. It was in the room, problem. But not online.
No problem at all. So the first slide, if you remember, was to find a way to communicate product data, both, here we go. Both technical and environmental properties. And to approach that challenge, we need, the first step was to find, of course, a common language. And we used as many of the harmonized international standards that we can find. And if needed, then we combine them with the national standards and industry specifications. And one example, of course, is the openBIM in the building information world, and in the product information world, we are using EU harmonized standards to create, for instance, data templates for product families. And we use the GS1 standard, like the GTIN standard, for item identification. And in Sweden, the construction industry have agreed upon to use that as a general solution, actually. Now you can shift to the next slide, please. The next step was to start creating data templates and data sheets, of course. And this is an example of the product family construction timber. You can see that in the middle of the slide here. That is used in the wall system in this case. The data template for construction timber was created by using the harmonized product standard EN 14081 for technical properties. And they combined that with the horizontal standard E1 15804 for the environmental properties. And then we added some national properties from industry standards and specifications before we created the data sheets. Okay, next slide, please. Great. The next step was to create and use generic Swedish wood products as a form of benchmark products, both for our members and markets. We also, for the generic products, creating data sheets with quantities and values for both technical and environmental properties. Which means that all in the design and planning phase, an architect or a technical engineer or a consultant can use the data from a unique product in their templates. For instance, a CAD system or for different calculations. Or if you have a role regarding the environmental goals, you can, as example, control your budget for climate impact because you have access to some unique data. So you can load that up to your system or to your templates. And you can use also the product data and identification during the continuous process. Let's say for the procurement or the sourcing during the procurement, since there's a connection between unique ID, the Swedish wood ID, and the G18 ID for each manufacturer's specific item. And it's combined with an inheritance function as well. So the data is flowing from the unique level to the item specific level. You can check the next slide, please. This is a bit busy slide here. So put your focus to the upper right corner. Because thanks to the G18 decision that the industry took here in Sweden, we can use the G18 ID as a reference in connection between the product data and the construction object in the building information model, or digital logbook, for instance. So by that, the data can be uploaded via file or an API, and then stored, or that is probably best for the logbook in that case. But we can also use a subset of data and upload it, for instance, into a BIM model in this case, or we can use digital link for access, so to speak. So suddenly we can connect, not suddenly, we then can connect the two worlds and into one information model, you could call it perhaps. Next slide, please. So the solution that we came up with was one common structure with the inheritance. So we have now also started to build up a Swedish wood data node, you could call it, a national one, in the shape of a product catalog, where you can find all the benchmark products and also each manufacturer's responding product and specific product data. This is in Swedish right now, so the slide is not that useful, but in the center at the bottom, you have different kind of data sheets views for technical properties, environmental, and so on. And to the right, you have the manufacturers. If you click on the button here, you move on to their product type and then to the item, so to speak. So that's the inheritance function. During this year, we plan to, at the end of this year, publish all the harmonized products. There are about 12 or 13 product families in a national catalog, but in Swedish. Then during 2024, probably at the end of Q2, we will follow up with a catalog in English for the international markets. We have also started up an API interface that we plan to have available during the first half year of 2024. By that, we can then start to exchange and share data to different actors within the building industry on the generic level, and they can be secure that they can reach that product and have the same data that they plan and calculate with in the beginning of the construction. That will be delivered as well in the final product and from the final manufacturer they choose to order from. Next slide, please. So this is just an example of data sheets, how we build them. We build them with the reference as much as we can to standards, of course. We create views. This is the one technical view to the left and one environmental view to the right. We basically use the EPD information for the environmental data sheets. It's of course the stage A1 to A3 from a manufacturing perspective, and it's also the functional declared units that we use. That is in the standard. Next slide, please. So to summarize, here are some of the values we hope that we can be a part of with our product data structure data sharing. It's all about making it possible both to make, of course, it's possible to take the right decisions and also sustainable decisions, but it's also about timing, that we need to be able to have all this data in the beginning of products. To wait until you deliver the products, too late, of course. You also need to have it be able to transfer information between actors, not just to the construction process, but also to the use stage and the facility systems and so on. And then, of course, if we should make circularity and circular business models real, then we need the data, and it has to be digital, and it has to be possible to access it over time, and it has to be possible to trace it backwards, even all the way to the manufacturer. Otherwise, you can't be in control of what you actually are selling in a circular business model, for instance. And that's not just to summarize, it's also all for me. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Bernd, and apologies for the little hiccup also to the audience online as well at the start. Very interesting. I know you've Swedish would have been engaging with GS1 Sweden also for some long time, and you were one of the founding members of something we call the DSIB, so Digital Supply Chain and Built Environment Group. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I hope, do we have the next speaker online? Professore, are you there?
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yes. Yes, perfectly well. Thank you very much. So just a quick introduction. Professor Angelo Ciribini is a professor at the Università degli Studi di Brescia, a beautiful city in the northern province of Lombardia. Thank you, Professor, and there you go. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you very much. Good morning or good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm acting currently as the convener of the Technical Committee 442 of CEN titled BIM. I'm convener of the Working Group 8 dedicated to the digital competencies. But of course, I'm now here in order to provide my own personal views. Next slide, please. And it's clear that within our own task to be accomplished at CEN, we probably maybe publish in some years, 2 or 3 years, a technical specification instead of a standard, because of course we have to reach the largest consensus about the contents over the whole continent, Europe, and of course European Union too. And but it's clear that we are reasoning about, of course, the qualification of the individual professionals, as well as, of course, about maybe some functional aspects. But we are, of course, avoiding any references to the professional titles or jobs and so on. So, but it's clear that within CEN and maybe outside CEN, including GS1 and buildingSMART International, we are all together reasoning about some key challenges dealing with, of course, the product data templates, the data dictionaries, the ontologies, and the semantics. So it does mean that we are trying to reach maybe a sort of homogeneous threshold, or maybe homogeneous and standardized horizon. And we can sum up such an intent when we are maybe echoing the so-called machine interpretability. And this is the reason why, of course, we are reasoning about the exchange requirements, the exchange information requirements, and so on. Next slide, please. And so this is also the maybe reason why within CEN we are currently starting to try to provide as TC442 some common maybe references and instructions dealing with the CPR, because I think that the maybe single and individual technical committees charged to maybe amend and review the actual technical standards, and namely the harmonized parts of such standards, need to follow maybe a shared and a common maybe address and approach. And it is, of course, quite consistent with the maybe attempt to, I was early on, in order to guarantee an homogeneity and, of course, maybe the machine readability of the contents. So it's clear also that, of course, when we are looking not only at the CPR, but also to the DPP and so on, we could also figure out that some maybe specially purpose professionals could be introduced within the market. And so we are, of course, excluding at the maybe standardization level to imagine some maybe fictional titles. For instance, I'm remembering in the US, I did find the so-called BIM job captain and so forth. So, but it's clear that we have to reason not about the titles, but about the knowledges and skills, and of course liabilities and responsibilities. Also, in order to comply with the EQF, the EQF framework. And so I think that we could maybe regarding the comprehensive and whole community, including, of course, also GS1 and buildingSMART International. Personally, I'm maybe currently maybe belonging to this Swiss chapter, to be honest. But anyway, I think that we have to imagine not the titles, but the competencies proper to the so-called information modeler who, on the near future or on a midterm basis, could maybe charge to maybe work on behalf of the manufacturers and maybe also the merchants or dealers in order to enable such a machine interpretability and to of course increase and enhance the effectiveness of the not only of the exchanges, information exchanges, but also the commercial transactions. Next slide, please. The final one. So it's clear that we have to maybe try to maybe accomplish a sort of standardized approach starting from the manufacturers and the merchants. But it's clear that, of course, when looking at the products, but also maybe at when looking at some maybe special kinds of professionals. But of course, we have also to. So I think that no doubt we have to reason within the European data spaces, and of course we have to attain such a purpose dealing with the machine interpretability. But we have also to maybe introduce some alerts and some warnings about maybe a potential reductionism, because the machine interpretation could not be so rich and so ambiguous as a human one. So I think that the main question stays with such a conclusion, but on the same time, it's clear that the route does seem unavoidable on a midterm basis. But I would also highlight that unfortunately at the moment we are not succeeding in maybe establishing an European data space dedicated to the construction industry. And so we are forced to maybe to be part of the manufacturing data space. So I think that we as a whole community and as a maybe comprehensive industry, we have to try to establish a special and maybe single European data space addressed towards our own industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professore. Hope to see you in one of those next meetings around as well, so that we can have a chat, a more elaborate chat on
definitely.
the
definitely.
topics
Thank
that
you
you
very
address.
much for your kind attention. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So our next speakers, two, will be Frederik Twetter, Team Leader, Product Information and Digitization at Nordan Group, the Nordan Group, together with David Elmrod, Head of Expansion GS1 Sweden, and formerly leading the construction activities of GS1 in Sweden and the rest of the world. So I see you have a lot of props. That's very interesting. So I'll just link you to the presentation. You will do the introduction, David?
Yes.
Good. There. It is working.
It's good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us here today. We've been talking a lot about standards, about GS1 standards, but we will try to give you a real example of how standards can work in practice today. And it's a fantastic timing for us to do it today, because all the other speakers have been touching upon our subject today. And Pedro, as I think you will like, I hope you like what you see today. This is not the right picture. Yeah, that's your slides, and so that's not the right slides.
You didn't send me any slides.
I did. Okay. 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 Improvisation.
I'm sorry.
So, okay, we'll do like this. Why is GS1 somewhat engaged and so interested in digital product passport? It is because if you're looking at the legislation that came out, the draft legislation, and also the draft CPR, and also with the amendments to the CPR, they're talking about unique product identifiers. They are talking about some kind of data carrier in our world that would be, for example, a 2D barcode or an RFID. They're talking about how to connect a physical product with an identity with digital data about the product using the data carrier. And it should be open standards, it should be interoperable, and this is what GS1 is about. We've been using the GTIN that we've seen today, many times today, GTIN for 50 years. We've been doing data carriers for pretty much as long, I guess. The digital link standard, which using the internet and connects the digital data to the physical product, is a rather newer standard, but it works. We've tested it. And in Sweden, instead of just looking at the standards and reading papers and producing more stuff, we tried, okay, let's put it to the test. So we put together, well, not we, but we were part of the project, together with the Swedish Retail Federation, which is an umbrella organization for retail industry in Sweden, with us ourselves, of course. Can't forget anybody now. Ecolabel Sweden, Svanen, in Norway, you know Svanen, and I'm not sure how widespread that is outside, but it's an eco-label. And also with Axe Foundation, which is a not-for-profit organization developing new technologies for sustainability, together with an app supplier or a software supplier called Blue Chromos, and with 3 brand owners. One, Ahlsell, in Norway, you know them, there's a big retail in construction. It was Mio, a furniture company, and Daga, which is a retail in the food retail. So we had one bed headboard, one package of diaper, and one cleaning rag. Okay, it's not construction, but you get the point. So we put it to the test, and what we did was that and we will actually show that. So it's good that we have the demo today, actually. So by using the standards, we could tell that by applying a GTIN and code it into a QR code, and we scan it with a mobile phone, you go to Ahlsell's website. That was the picture I was going to show you. We go to the Ahlsell website. If you scan the same barcode with an app, a software, it'll take you to another place. It will take you to a digital product passport with a set of data. And we just used like brand name and things like that. But it also took us to another site, the Ecolabel site, and looked down in real time into their database to see, has this product a valid certificate? So if it had not a valid certificate, it would be turned down, saying, no, it's not valid. But in this case, it was. So we're actually using our technology to look into 2 different places to collect information and present it in a structured format. Of course, most products that will be within the scope of a digital passport, you will never ever scan them. You will scan them, but I think the big application is that if you have 1,000 cleaning rags, and you want to compare them or you want to check something, since an app is a software, could be plug-in. I'm not a technical guy, so I'm saying plug-in. Say that you upload 1,000 GTINs to a software, and it will collect the data in a structured way and present it in a structured way. Then you could populate your own systems with, for example, EPD data or performance data. So that was the whole idea, and all the standards, they worked. And luckily, if we're crossing my fingers now, because when we did the test in May in Sweden, it didn't work because GS1 Sweden had not paid our certificate fees. But hopefully it does today. But that, I'll hand it over to you, Fredrik.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Fredrik, work at Nordan, which is a window and door company, primarily located in Scandinavia, British Isles, and Eastern Europe. I was invited here to talk a bit about our journey in making our product information more digitally available and future-proof, and how having standardized data formats can enable a lot of good solutions to be developed. But let's see if this works. Yeah. I'd like to start briefly with the motives, and we've talked about it earlier, but the motives for making the product information more available. With the most obvious reason, of course, it's within a near future, you simply won't have a choice. It'll be mandatory. But I strongly believe that instead of waiting until you have to do something, you should try to see the real cause and collaborate to achieve a solution that everyone can benefit from. And the easiest way for to ensure that all stakeholders in the product lifecycle are able to create systems and processes to utilize from a new level of traceability is to agree upon a minimum level of information to be made available, while still enabling further information to be optional. It's important. And most important is to standardize the format of the data and relevant identities. It is, however, also important to bear in mind that for a lot of manufacturers and other stakeholders as well, this distinct requirement of more digitalized communication and traceability, it's relatively new, so the change won't happen overnight. But saying that, there really isn't any excuses to not get started and at least take a few steps in the right direction. So here's a general overview of the steps that Nordan has taken towards digitalized product information. Starting at the base here, there's been a very important initial learning phase, of course, to understand where the industry is heading. We try to be as active as possible in different initiatives that help move the development forward, like this, one of them, and participating in GS1 work groups to make sure that their standards align with the industry needs, or defining data templates for the Swedish context for the product category windows together with a co-builder. And then we gradually restructured and improved our core data and documentation to make it compatible with the digital solutions. And after that, it's just been a matter of implementing a globally unique and standardized identification, GTIN, in correlation with our already existing identifiers for the different products being sold. And then simply adding a QR code on the product and making it future-proof, hopefully, by making the URL in a format that is GS1 Digital Link compatible. And then we created a web interface that presents the information about each GTIN. And I would say it's initially now in human readable way, but of course the next step is to achieve direct communication system to system. And to do that efficiently, as I said, the format of the data and relevant identities needs to be standardized. So this was the theoretical description of our digitization. And hopefully now I'll be able to show you what the end result looks like in practice. have that one first. But one of the main purposes of Digital Link, as David said, is to be able to have a single QR or another link carrier, but QR in this case, that depending on the intended use gives the wanted results. So first, I'm going to show you here what you're presented with when scanning the QR code on this window with your regular camera or QR scanning application on your phone. Hopefully it'll work. You see it now, yeah? Just make sure, yeah. So you're directed to our product site, which presents information about that specific GTIN and its relevant documentations like fitting and maintenance instructions and a lot more, like here. Sorry, drawings, or maybe most important, the environmental performance of the product. And the aim of this service has been to provide, of course, an easy way to find as much useful information about the product as possible, and not only received at the moment of purchase, but just as easily obtainable later in the product's life cycle. And all of this is stored at the moment locally in our database. But of course, when Digital Product Passport is implemented, we'll be able to distribute the information that way as well.
Okay, so now you've seen Frederick scanning the barcode on the window. Let's see if I can share my screen as well. And the first scan was with the mobile, the native camera.
Yeah.
So I'm using. Okay.
I have to switch off mine.
So circle bill. So I'm going to scan the same QR code with the app. Software could be in another kind of software built in. So if I scan same QR, we're presented with something else, some other kind of data, and we kept it very small. The data set is super small, just to be able to prove the point. In this case, we have the GTIN, and I need to just connect to one of Pedro's slides here with the 4-field matrix, where one of the things, because I was looking for GTIN, of course, and luckily I found it in the lower left green corner, which means that GTIN is pretty easy and for a manufacturer to apply, and also to distribute and share. So it would be more problematic if it was in the red corner, but it was in the green one. So GTIN is here. You get some information about the window. Of course, there could be more information. The thing is that we wanted to include here is the U value of the window, the thermal transmittance. This is a functional value that could come from one of co-builders' data templates, for example. But there could be lots of more information shared like this. And of course, in Sweden, we have a climate declaration law that says that every new building from last year needs to have a climate declaration. And then the EPD becomes crucial. So we included that as well. So if I click on that, you'll see the EPD in this case. The Norwegian EPD Foundation and the Nordan is the owner. You get the license number and you get the global warming potential for module 1 from A1 to A3. And of course, again, if I understand correct, I'm not a construction guy. The EPD, it's a data template. So if there are 100 values or properties, I needed to say that orally, sorry. If there are 100 properties or 1,000, doesn't really matter. You can share it like this. And what is actually happening is that, not in this case, but in the Ahlsell case, you go to the Ahlsell website, you see what everybody else see when they scan, when they're using the mobile phone. But underneath the surface, there is semantic code embedded into the website. So, and it's not hocus pocus. This is what Google and the Yahoo likes everybody to use, because then they can understand what's on the website. So in this case, it's not here, but it could be like this, that this data was actually encoded into the Northern endplace, but it's not in this case, but it could be. So this would be a way to distribute and share data in a super efficient way, hopefully. With that, I think we're done. Maybe I should say that if we're interested to know more about the project that we've done in Sweden, I think I'm pretty sure it's in English. I need to check that, sorry. But it's on our website. And of course, you can do Google Translate. But it's on our website, gs1sweden.se. And you'll find all the information there. So thanks a lot, Enzo.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks, Frederick. Thanks, David. Thanks for the nice. Thank you. Thanks for the nice demo. And it.
I didn't send you the slides. I think I did, but
maybe an old email address could be. I change every week. No, great. I mean, it's nice to see how easy digitization can be, right? We're talking about digitization. I mean, this is a first nice step, making it easy for everyone to understand. Everybody has a mobile phone today. They use it for private reasons, but why not use it for professional reasons as well, if that makes life easier, and you can use, let's say, interoperable and open standards to work on this. Thank you, both. From Sweden, we move to Norway. Where is Knut? Oh, there he is. I saw you there, and all of a sudden, up, fast as lightning. So Knut is Knut Jossang. I hope Jossang.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Manager Digital Build Environment at Pipelife Norway, which is part of the Wienerberger Group, and he is also the leader of the buildingSMART Norway product domain, I should say, and not group anymore.
That's correct. That's correct.
Thank you, Knut.
Thank you. So thank you for the introduction. So see if yeah, clicker is working. Everything is okay. So I will give you first an example. Then I will present more like a use case, what we in Pipelife Norway had done during the last 4-5 years. And then some, yeah, you can call it conclusion thoughts to sum up. So in Norway, we have 3 factories. Pipelife is a part of a bigger group, Wienerberger Group, with a lot of factories, sales offices around whole Europe. And I know I've showed this example for a lot of you before, but I think it's still valid, with a lot of different classification for us as a manufacturer to maintain, to provide product information. So this is just random picked databases. It could be 3D model libraries. It could be, yeah, all kind of stuff. So for us, as it is now, it's more up to how much human resources will be put into to manually feed all these type of silos with our product information. And if we then say it's like 5 databases or 5 places to put information for each factory, maybe around 60 factories around Europe, then we're up in 300 places to put product information. And also with different kind of customers, with wholesalers, they would also like to have information in an even more tailor-made way. So this is just a little PowerPoint show of different Excel spreadsheets to feed, for instance, wholesalers with product information. Yeah, even more. Yeah, one more. Oh, yeah. So if you do the same calculation based on that, let's say 10 spreadsheets each factory, then we could add 600 spreadsheets, and we had around 300 databases. So we're close to 1,000 places to update information in different ways, slightly different ways. So instead of doing that kind of stuff with classifications for us as a manufacturer, try to map between the different ones. It could be ETIM, it could be IFC properties, it could be related to Revit, it could be different ERP systems, it could be different databases. We tried a different approach to have the data template or product data template as the source. So for now, I would say, or I could save that for the conclusions, we need these classifications to realize that they need to go to the standards and do it that way. Because I would claim that classifications, to some extent, of course, it's on a higher level, it's important to have a higher structure on it. But when you come down to the properties, to the product information, you need to, let's say, jump from classification to standards. So for instance, take the example here. If we say that the blue people here, manufacturers, wholesalers, logistics, and typical product databases for that part of the value chain. For me as a manufacturer, producing products according to product standards, and that's my language, what is stated in product standard. But then you maybe have a wholesaler or a database claiming that, no, it's not product standards, it's, for instance, ETIM. That's the holy grail. And on the other side, you have the building owner, the contractor, maybe some architects, designers, and at least as far as I know, you have building owners and contractors. They also want product data according to product standards. But then you have, for instance, Revit, IFC, other kind of softwares and file formats, claiming that, no, it's not product standards, it's Revit properties. That's the case. So then you split the value chain with a manufacturer at the start, a building owner at the end, want product information according to product standards, and there are some other type of stakeholders in the middle wanting something else. So, as Enzo said, I'm also involved in the product domain in buildingSMART Norway. So we did a lot into these standards, which Lars presented nicely earlier today, and decided to go for that approach. So this is a data dictionary. We have applied that for around 4,000 to 5,000 products. So this is just an example that you define your products with product code, GTIN, the product standards relevant. Then add, for instance, technical information with reference to the standards. You have logistics information, packaging, weight, volume, units, that kind of stuff. We have also tried to add some facility maintenance information. And this is not just for a single product or as a pilot or as a test, it's for the whole product range, 4,000 products. And then we're into, should I say, the tricky part up in Pedro's red corner. So we had a meeting with wholesalers, some contractors 2 years ago. I have kept it in Norwegian, but I think you can understand at least the 2 bullet points at the end, which is it shall be according to ISO 22057, or you need to do something with the declare unit, so it's easy to calculate with. Yeah, let's skip that one. So what we have done so far on that part, of course, we have a lot of work to do internally to make the EPDs, but we have made them at a system level. So for instance, 1 kilogram extruded PVC pipe system. It could consist of, like, say, 200, 300 products or GTINs. And then we scale it based on the weight of the product. So then you see that EPD is nothing separate from product information in general. And then you will have same kind of product with the EPD information according to ISO 22057, with all that kind of information. And this is scaled down to exactly this product based on one EPD document. So instead of having, like, say, 5,000 EPDs, it would cost us for each year like 500,000 euros each year if we should have one document for each product based on the fee to the program operator. Now we're down to, let's say, 10 EPDs for that kind of product range. Digging into some conclusions, I would claim that we have, as a manufacturer, we are quite well prepared now to share information, but the other part of the value chain also need to set requirements based on the same standards. So we're not there yet, and I think much of it is related to something is missing here, the software. So if we could turn that unicorn, which is quite seldom to see, into more like a normal horse, that it's not a question of if, but more a question of yes, it's not a question at all, that these softwares related to BIM, related to product databases, related to logistics, they stick to the standards. Then we are able to share our product information through the whole value chain. So waiting for that, hope for that. So to sum up, there's no new information added there. We have not created any new information internally in Pipelife. It's just to clean up the mess, to express it in a structured way. So thank you.
Thank you, Knut. Very interesting. I like that last picture. I've seen a few of them, but this is a very colorful one. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
We'll move to the last contribution of this morning, which will be one from Magdalena Piskowski, if I pronounce that well. It's a recorded contribution because she was not able to be here. Although she is global head of market management at Knauf Insulation, but at the same time, she's also a member of the product room of buildingSMART, product domain of buildingSMART International. She couldn't be here, but she recorded a video with her contribution. Can we? Super, thank you.
So welcome everyone. The presentation is, just give me a second to use all my screen. So I will go through a couple of points. So of course I will present our company, and then we'll talk about the importance of the digital passport and also all of the use cases that we have done, or a couple of use cases that we have done with Knauf Insulation to support this digital, let's say, transformation. And some key takeaway by the end of the presentation. About my company, so I'm representing Knauf Insulation, which is one of the leader of the insulation market. We are operating since 40 years now, and we have like 30 plants around the globe with the different products coming from stone to rock, and stone and rock and glass and wood wool, and we have like a really global impact on the insulation, and especially now in the phase that we are talking about energy efficiency in the buildings and also net zero buildings. As about myself, I am Magda Pyszkowski, as I said, and I was working for many years in the construction industry for the big international player in the construction, with construction, and I moved to the manufacturing 5 years ago. And I built my expertise around digital transformation in ISC sector, especially also supported by the different working group in the buildingSMART, but also in the typical association for our business in URIMA, and also with the initiative of the digital supply chain in built environment. And I had a pleasure also to co-write a book regarding the data in the BIM environment a couple years ago. So just to give you maybe some context about ourselves for crowd insulation and for the company working in the insulation business, what we see, what is something that is really impacting also us, it's the race to achieve net zero buildings. It's coming with a different regulation. Here is the example of the regulation in France, which is Regulation 2022, which is focusing on the energy, carbon, and summer comfort. But what is important is that you see on this regulation, it's impacting the buildings in terms of the carbon targets. You can see that for the multi-family and single family houses and buildings, there is a big target to decrease the operational carbon and embodied carbon. Why it's important for us? Because, as we see on the slide, the insulation contain, in fact, from 3 to 8% of the total embodied carbon. Knowing that, a lot of architects also thinking of this, how we can change something in the construction industry, how we can make the things better, how we can build better. This is also connected to the digitalization, because when you talk about embodied carbon, you talk also about data. Another context, it's about BIM that we consider as a key element for the digital transformation of the AEC sector, as with the promise to improve project efficiency, reduce cost, and increase competitiveness. And from our point of view, from the manufacturing point of view, we see that there is a big switch from analog to digital enabled decision, starting from the specification to the fulfillment of the building. And what you see in blue, this is the part that is now becoming very digital. Still some of the action that we are doing, interacting with the stakeholders in the process of build and design is still analog, but mostly we are switching from analog to digital. And this is also confirmed by the BIM, let's say, card with the BIM deployment around the globe. From our side, from manufacturing side, we know about the digital product passport that will come, and it will be somehow obligatory, that will need to contain some data from the basic product data to the sustainability data. And this is something that we see that will impact our business. And of course, we talk about this for already a couple of meetings. There are new standards that are regarding BIM, but also regarding data template for the product. And this is something that we're trying to understand how we, as a manufacturer, can comply with the standard. So this is the context that we are living in. And then this is what we are doing. So for the moment, as many of our colleagues from the sectors, we are switching from the paper catalogs to the digital libraries. For us, it's very important to keep the independency of the tools that we are using. So here you can see, for example, one of the tools developed by Crowd Insulation. We call it BIM Factory. We have also others. This tool enable us to specify the system in the digital way, and it's some kind of a system finder and generator, which allows to generate on demand the assemblies for BIM environment. So it's a service to propose to the architects and to the specifiers, and we can provide like on demand, like instantly the different system in Revit, Archicad, or IFC. IFC it's like a question mark because we did also some experience, and IFC doesn't exist for product yet. Today we have this system developed for some of the components, and now we are progressing the development of for the whole envelope of the building. Oh, sorry. Then we really try to understand, because that was about specification of the system to the architects, but we can also think how we can provide the data with the product that we provide really to the construction job site. And we were part of the very nice project about the lean logistic. The idea was to how we can innovate the logistic with the flow of the materials coming from different manufacturers to the construction consolidation center, how we can match this with the different sensors in the building, and how we can also use BIM in the construction, in the execution phase. And so we used for this project the product data coming from Knauf Insulation and from our mother company Knauf, to provide this information to the stakeholders on the project. The idea that the project was really successful. We result with the 5% margin increase for the construction company, 66% of reduction of deliveries on site, and 50% of reduction of the resulting on the carbon emission, which was really very successful. However, to make this happen, we tried also the different way how to provide the data of the product. And we use the BIM application that I showed you just before, but we use also the paper standard, and we use also the GDSN for the GS1 standards data. So here you can see like our collecting of our feedback of how we can propose the data in the digital way. There is no one ideal solution. Let's say that using a data bank GDSN was quite easy, but we found this system quite closed also. Our BIM factory, so the second point, was somehow we deliver what was needed in terms of the properties. It was easy to customize, but somehow for others manufacturers, it means that they need to have their database, they BIM data libraries also to provide the data in this way. And we use also PayPal. That was very easy to provide the data, but from the manufacturing side, it seems to be totally different from the way how we operate. So we see this like very hard to implement for the manufacturers. So our key takeaways, just based on maybe on these two examples, is that today the manufacturing data is structured to meet the production requirement. It's not structured to meet the sharing with other stakeholders in the BIM design stage in the digital way. There is one point which is very important, and this is something that I'm experiencing every day. We don't have a clear value proposition to convince internal stakeholders in the companies to invest in this area. Why? Because we don't have any promises like we have for the construction companies. We don't have really a business proposition. There is also a big need for more education for non-specialists. In fact, when you have a look at the manufacturing companies, depending on the companies, our sales force are really close to the customers, but the customers could be very different. It could be an installer, but it could be also architects. To talk with the architects, it's not the same how to talk with the installers. And to provide the data to architects is not the same how to provide the product and maybe information about product to the installers. So there is a big need also how to educate in the easy way to the non-specialists. And in fact, when we talk about data template or digital passport, somehow it's missing like a clear recommendation. What is the request for product information, for which use case, for which use this information is needed, and in which way. So this is something that we are struggling today, really to progress on this topic. So we are progressing by doing the different pilots, but it's still, I think, under development. So hopefully, the discussion that we will have in this room will maybe bring some new ideas and maybe bring some solution how to manage this. Yes, so it's really difficult to talk to the screen. So thank you for the listening me. I'm always thinking that it's as we are not as showing this slide, because we know that humans are always far better at inventing tools than using them wisely. So for me, we need to keep our work very simple to use and very close to the markets if we wanna change the market and digitalize it. Thank you very much.
Thanks to all. I just thanked Magda via WhatsApp, keeping it simple as she did as well. We have some time left, so I would suggest that if somebody has some questions for the presenters that have presented, I think we've got the French proof of concept. Knut is still there. Frederick is still there. Who else do we have? We had 3 online, so that's a bit difficult. But if you have a question for the Nordan use case, the GS1 360 Smart Connect and Soprema, or the Pipe Life, raise your questions. You've got the opportunity now. No, this was not planned, of course, but if we save some time, or are you just extremely hungry? Probably that. There's a question there. Do we have a microphone?
Thank you. Peter Axelsson from Sweden. I have a question to Pipe Life, or if you could elaborate a little bit more on the discussion regarding the classification and versus the data templates, if I understood you correctly. And also from asset management point of view, I mean, we are not looking just at the products, but we also need to have the basic functionality that we want to solve. I mean, the product will change during the lifetime of the whole function, maybe. So I mean, we need to have the function also here, where the classification also can be of importance. So that's.
Yes, thanks. Good question. As I tried to explain that on a higher level, or on, as you said, asset management level or facility maintenance, whatever it could be, classification is important. But when you dig down to the properties for a product, then you need to stick to the product standards and not to the classification. So it's more like the matter of when should you jump from your preferred classification, if it's co-class, or you're from Sweden, so it's probably co-class, to the properties for the products, because you need to do that kind of jump at some place. If not, then a manufacturer need to provide data for every single classification system. And that's not sustainability.
Thank you, Knut. Claire has, and then. Because we have some online questions as well, I want to give them the opportunity.
So a question from Adam online. What is the physical form of the product passport, and how do customers get access to it?
Who should we give that question to? Maybe GS1? So again, can you read the question so that we...
Is there a physical form of the product passport? And if so, how do customers get access to it?
Aurélie or Ildiko, you want to? Yeah, you can. Ildiko, if you want to.
Maybe, or I can reply this. But what I think is the digital. Well, yeah, now you hear me. So if we talk about the digital product passport, is not something physical, and it will be based on an EU regulation. So GS1 can provide the tools with which you can comply with this regulation. So maybe someone else from GS1 can have their.
So this is Lars from CoBuilder.
This is Lars CoBuilder. On the physical product, there will be a physical data carrier shown like we're shown today. That's the physical thing, where this physical data carrier stores information physically on the product, physically. So you can read that information from a device. You don't need to connect to, the information is within the data carrier. And then there is a link between that and the data template, with which holds the information on the product shown perfectly by Nordan and by Knut, many today. This is the information which can be held many places, but where the commission has said that they also want to have it in a database before you place the product on the market. Is that okay?
I think just to wrap up, I think it's, I think we have, no? Okay. Yes, I think in the meantime, while the microphone is moving, I think the idea of the DPP is that it is digital. It should be digital. And of course, you can have a digital and then have a printout, but that's not the whole idea of the digital product passport. We want to go digital, make it easier, make it more interoperable. So that would be a step back, doing a step forward and then a step back. And I think we want to go digital. Printouts are good, but yes, Rasso.
Yes, a very practical question. In these windows, like we have seen here on stage, there's a small important part. It's the drive screw. A window which you used every day, the drive screw will be worn out in some 40 years. I just experienced it at home. So if I scan this barcode, I see nice information, but how do I get the right drive screw in 40 years?
I think my colleagues will be mad at me now, but we don't really know. I mean, this is part of, we don't know that yet. I mean, if, for example, if you know, Enzo has been working with rail, and so am I, and I think we have more rail experts in the room, but it is possible to engrave QR codes into the thing that connects to railway wagons, and that'll last for several years. So there is a possibility to do it, but how it can work on a window or a wood beam or whatever, that remains to be seen. But that's also probably part of the whole standardization process. It needs to be clarified. We have shown with our use case that our standards can be used to connect a physical object via an identity, a QR code, and connect it to digital data on the web. That's what we've done. And hopefully that is a solution that lots of companies will look into, and maybe also the commission and also the standardization bodies. But at the moment, we're not in the dark, but it's still early days, I think.
I think we have different aspects. So we have the identifier. So if it's serialized, it's a unique identifier. You have the product passport, which captures the static information. So on the product at its birth, that's one thing. And then you've got the other element, which is the health chart. What has been happening over time with that product? How you get that information, how you capture that, how you update it is all through the data carrier. So as mentioned, in this case, the QR code could be an RFID tag as well, non-visible. So in some cases, it could be aesthetically more interesting. But you need to know that there is, of course, an RFID tag in there. And it's basically connecting that identifier with the information where it needs to be, so that at the end of its life, you will know the full carbon footprint of that window from manufacturing, from raw materials, manufacturing, usage, end of life.
So my name is Christian Mann. I'm with Siemens AG, and I would like to add another dimension to this. The German Association of the Electrical Industries, ZWEI, if I'm not mistaken, on the last Hanover Trade Fair, had a showcase for an electrical control cabinet, which was built, assembled by several electrical manufacturers, all based around the DPP, the Digital Product Passport. The concept they use is a little bit more, call it detailed or more structured. So the Digital Product Passport has two elements. One is the digital nameplate, and this is what I understand that you guys have presented here. It's, in my non-engineering mind, it's, you know, like the QR code, the RFID tag, which has the main information. The big challenge we have is that we have several, you know, if you talk different industries, different sectors, everybody has his own standards, and they're not right, they're not wrong. They are established, they're well proven, and nobody wants to give them up. So what they, and nobody should give them up because it's a lot of work. So what in the showcase that was presented, you have the digital nameplate, which reflects this specific information of this product. And in the background, you have what's called an asset administration shell. I don't like the word, but in principle, what it is, it reflects the semantic structure you need to describe this product. So the nameplate is the individualization for this, and the asset administration shell, it's for me, it's like an electrical socket with several plugs, and I can plug in whichever standards I need in order to make my DPP work. I don't have the information here. You may want to search for it. It's ZVEI, and just say showcase control cabinet. They showed that it worked. And I know my colleagues are traveling around and presenting it. I was not prepared for this, otherwise I could have shown you a little bit more. But it is a very, all of this for us, so I come from Siemens AG, but from the smart infrastructure side. We mostly do building technologies, not so much in the construction. In Siemens, of course, we have all the industrial automation, and those guys are way advanced and what we're trying to learn and do here right now. So I think there's a lot we can learn. One of the concepts, this whole part is, as I understand it, a lot of it was learned from the industrial automation side. Let's copy what we can use and not reinvent the wheel. So I just wanted to add this dimension to it. And by the way, so the window showcase, very similar. What I've seen from this control cabinet, that's actually the full product spectrum, product description, you know, like what you typically have in all the paper descriptions. So thanks.
Thank you very much. I would suggest we stop here for lunch. If you have a question, hold that thought. If we are as good as we are now in time management, we will have some time after lunch. We have an hour for other case studies. If we have enough time, we can still catch some questions. And of course, there will be the breakout rooms where we, at 4 o'clock, where you are happy to share your thoughts, ask questions, and get into the live discussions. Thank you, and bon appétit. And I don't know how do you say that in Norwegian, bon appétit, but you understand what I mean. Thank you.